Hi guys, Marion Emberson here for Wow Embossing Powder. I'm going to share with you this little technique. To do it, we're going to use the Wow Fab foil. I'm actually using silver, not the teal that I've shown you there. We're using the Pick and Mix stamps and then the Secret Garden background stamp, our fabulous embossing pad and some bonding powder. And then of course we need our colour, and we're going to use Beautiful in this one. So the first thing that I've done, I've taken a chipboard heart. It's a Sizzix die, this one, so it's the large heart, and I've just cut it on white chipboard, and I'm gonna push it into the embossing pad. I want to cover the whole thing. I want to make sure it's all covered in ink so that when I pour my embossing powder on there, it's all going to stick to it. So as I say, I'm going to use Beautiful. I just love this colour, although we've got so many new colours coming out. It's fabulous. So I'm going to just shake off the excess and just hold it by the edges, and then I'll just pop that back in the pot again. And then I'm going to heat it. I'm going to do a few layers on this, and I'm also going to speed the heating up. So basically I'm going to hold the heat tool about an inch away from the chipboard heart, and you'll notice that I haven't actually applied any more ink this time. I've just kept the heat tool on there. So I start from one end and I work my way up the design, and then I just go all over it again so that the whole thing, because if you start from the bottom, by the time you've got to the top, the bottom's cool again. So just give it a little blast all over, and then while it's still warm, the powder will stick because it's still warm to it, so I don't need to keep reapplying ink. So it's just it's like a triple embossing, but without having to reapply the ink. You just have to work a little bit quicker than you would normally. But this is going to give us a really gorgeous enamel effect, which is exactly what I'm after. So I'm just going to heat that again, and I'm going to pop my lid on because I have many an accident. And then if I just pick this up, I can show you, so you can see like that lovely shine that you're getting on there. It's gorgeous. So flip my paper over. I'm going to use the bonding powder now. Now, bonding powder hasn't got any anti-static in it like all our other powders have. So I'm actually going to use an anti-static bag, and it's not really for static, in all honesty. It's one because the project is hot still, it's warm, but also I don't want any moisture on there. So if I touched it with my fingers like I am in the corner there, the bonding powder is going to stick to anything. It really does. So I don't even use an acrylic block. I just put my stamp down on the table, have it facing up, and then I'm just going to ink all over, and then I'll take my enamelled heart, and then I decide where I want to put that, so what part of the pattern I want to get from that. And then I just push into it, so I'm transferring the ink that's on there onto that heart. So you give it a nice push, and then I'm just going to pop the bonding powder all over there. So cover the whole thing. And it's a very, very fine powder, this. And then same as normal, we treat it as if it's an embossing powder, so we're just going to shake off the excess and then pop it back in the pot. And again, pop my lid on. I learn by so many of my mistakes. And now I'm going to heat it. I would heat this with bonding powder. I heat it a little bit longer than I normally would an embossing powder. So I'm just heating all over. I want to make sure it's all melted, but I don't want to overheat it so that I melt the powder from underneath. And then I'm just going to lay my foil on, just give that a quick rub, just so that it's grabbed everything of the bonding powder. And then I want to leave it. I want it to go completely cold before I actually pull off the rest of that foil. So just give yourself a, well, it's probably like 30 seconds, something like that. It's really not long. So just have a little feel of it and you'll know, like, but in the meantime, we can actually just stamp our little banner that we're going to put across, and then we know it's definitely going to be cold. So I'm not going to use embossing powder on this. I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black, and it's just a little word out of the Pick and Mix stamps. So I just thought love you would be quite apt. So I'm just going to pop that on there. You'll find with VersaFine also, it's an oil-based ink, so it does stay wet for longer than a normal ink, which is also great if you do want to emboss with it as well, because it gives you time to throw your embossing powder on there as well. So I'm just going to have a little feel of that. And then you just peel it back, and then you'll see whether it's coming off nicely. And then you can see there. So I've got that reverse pattern in there now, and I've mentioned before that you can use that with a double-sided adhesive and then cut it out and then put a glitter from behind, and that looks really great. So it's just very, very simplistic, this. I'm just going to put some foam pads on the back of the heart. And I'm going to stick this down to the piece of white cardstock I've cut. That I've cut it just slightly smaller than my black folded card that you're going to see in a minute. I just like to have a tiny little border around there, and I think the black really makes it pop. And it also goes nice and sets off the black from the stamping on the Love You. So I'm just I've put a foam pad on the back there, and I'm just going to line this up. So I'm happy with it. I think these would make the most, I mean, these are gorgeous for a lovely little Valentine's card, but they'd also make beautiful wedding invitations as well. So you could have them in the theme, you know, the colour theme of your wedding, and then have, you know, invitation or you're invited going across on the banner. They're really stylish and, you know, again, simplistic. And that's what you need really when you're making lots of cards. So just pop your foam pads on the back and make sure you put enough on, otherwise you'll get dips going on there when you stick it onto the front. And then just peel all those backers off. The worst thing you can do is just be quite skimpish on your foam pads and then just have like a couple at the top, a couple at the bottom, and then you're going to have like this big dip in the middle, and that's just not going to look too good. So I'm just going to peel all those off, and then I'll stick it to the front of my black folded card, and I always do it in a 10th fold. So just line it up, I just eyeball it and then stick it down, and that's done. So thanks ever so much for joining me, guys. Take care. Bye.